Reynolds and Rob McElhenney just broke the one promise they swore they'd never break, and it's got Wrexham fans asking some serious questions. Alright Wrexham fans, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we cover the Red Dragons like nobody else. The good, the bad, and everything in between. 3 massive stories for you today, and listen, you absolutely need to stick around for the last one. It's about Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and trust me, this one's a game changer that's got the entire fan base talking. But before we get there, let's crack on with the other news coming out of the racecourse. Story 1. Situation of injuries and return of Kabore. Right, first up, the injury situation ahead of tonight's clash with Hull City at the MKM Stadium. Phil Parkinson's given us the latest, and the good news is there are no fresh injury concerns from the weekend. That 1-1 draw with Preston on Saturday didn't leave us with any new problems, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're fighting in the Championship. Now we've still got the long-term absentees. Andy Cannon, Danny Ward and Jay Rodriguez are all working their way back to full fitness, while Elliot Lee, Liberato Cacace and Lewis Brunt remain sidelined. So the gaffer's got the same squad available that he had for Preston, which means consistency in selection at least. But here's the one everyone's been asking about. Issa Kabore, the lad we signed on deadline day, remember? Still out with that thigh injury picked up on international duty with Burkina Faso back in November. Frustrating doesn't even cover it, does it? You bring in a quality player like that and he's barely kicked a ball for us. The positive news though is that Parkinson says Kabore is progressing well. He's been doing his rehab up at Manchester City's training ground. Makes sense given he lives nearby rather than making that journey down to North Wales every single day. Kevin Mulholland, our head of performance and sports science, is keeping a close eye on him, and Parkinson's been in regular contact. Now, while Kabore's been out, Ryan Barnett has stepped up brilliantly. Parkinson was full of praise for him after the Preston match. A natural talent, that's what the gaffer called him. Barnett's had limited opportunities this season, but when he's been called upon, he's delivered. That's the kind of squad depth we need if we're serious about staying competitive in the Championship. So injury-wise, we're in decent shape. No new worries, and Kabore's on the mend. But that's not the only news coming out of the racecourse. Let's talk FA Cup, because we've drawn an absolute cracker. Nottingham Forest away? No, mate. Nottingham Forest at home, at the racecourse. 3rd round, Premier League opposition. This is what the magic of the Cup is all about. Parkinson couldn't hide his excitement when the draw was made. Couldn't have been better, he said. And he's right, isn't he? We've had some brilliant cup ties these past few years. Sheffield United, Coventry City. But this is the first time under Parkinson we're facing top-flight opposition. That's a proper statement match right there. The game's scheduled for the weekend beginning Saturday, January the 10th. So we've got something special to look forward to after the Christmas period. And playing at home makes it even sweeter. The atmosphere at the racecourse for a night match against the Premier League side, it's going to be electric. Now, Forest have had a bit of a managerial merry-go-round this season. Sean Dyche has just taken over. He's the 3rd manager they've had this campaign after Nuno Espiritu Santo and Ange Postecoglou both left earlier on. Dyche is a proper experienced manager, isn't he? Done brilliant work at Burnley, kept them in the Premier League year after year when everyone expected them to go down. Parkinson's got nothing but respect for him, and rightly so. But here's the thing, Parkinson's made it clear that the FA Cup takes a back seat for now. The focus has to be on the Championship. That's where our bread and butter is. That's where we need to keep performing week in, week out. The Cup's a lovely bonus, a chance for a big day out, but we can't let it distract us from the league campaign. Still, imagine knocking out a Premier League side at home. The documentary cameras would be all over that one, wouldn't they? Welcome to Wrexham would have an absolute field day. Now, those were big stories, But what I'm about to tell you next could completely change how Wrexham fans see Reynolds and Rob Mack. This is massive. Right, here we go. The big one. And I need you to pay attention because this is genuinely fascinating and a bit controversial. Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack have just done something with their Colombian Football Club that they explicitly, repeatedly promised Wrexham supporters they would never do here. And it's got people talking. Let me set the scene. Earlier this year, Reynolds and Rob Mack joined a heavyweight group of investors to buy a Colombian top-flight side called La Equidad. It wasn't just them. The ownership group included former real estate executive Al Tylis, ex-Swansea City director Sam Porter, Hollywood actress Eva Longoria, Kate Upton, and baseball star Justin Verlander. Serious money, serious names. Now, fast forward a few months, and La Equidad doesn't exist anymore. Not in name anyway. The club has been completely rebranded. New name, new crest, new colours. They're now called Internacional de Bogotá. Let that sink in for a second. A club with history, with tradition, with an established identity, wiped clean and rebuilt from scratch under new ownership. The new crest features an Andean condor and references Bogotá's eastern hills. The colours have changed from whatever they were before to white, black and gold, supposedly symbolising unity, strength and the legend of El Dorado. It's a complete departure from what the club was. Now, here's where it gets interesting for us Wrexham fans. When Reynolds and Rob Mack took over our club back in 2021, they made very specific promises, crystal clear guarantees. They pledged that Wrexham's name, our colours, our badge, and our location would be protected. Those assurances weren't throwaway comments. They were fundamental to winning over a fan base that's fiercely protective of our 161-year-old identity. And they've kept that promise here, haven't they? We're still Wrexham, still the Red Dragons, still at the racecourse ground. Nothing's changed in that regard, and that's earned them enormous trust from the supporters. But in Colombia, different story entirely. The new ownership group embraced the chance to completely reshape the club's image. Total rebrand. And that raises the question, why is it acceptable there, but not here? Now, to be fair, there's context. La Equidad was originally founded by an insurance company of the same name. So when ownership changed hands, the rebrand made a bit more sense from a business perspective. You're breaking away from the insurance company's identity and creating something new. But still, it's a stark contrast, isn't it? One set of rules for Wrexham, another for La Equidad, or should I say, Internacional de Bogotá. Let's talk about how that first season under new ownership went for them. Not great, to be honest. They finished rock bottom of the Colombian top flight. Absolute disaster on the pitch. They avoided relegation, but only because Colombian football uses a separate cumulative table based on points from previous seasons. So they got a lifeline they probably didn't deserve based on this year's form alone. Last month, the club's president, Nicolas Maya, had to issue a public apology to the fans. He said, "We know the sporting results this season were not what we expected, nor what our fans deserve. We made risky decisions, betting on young talent and building a model with projection, but not everything went as we wanted." Sound familiar? It's the kind of language you hear when new owners come in with big plans and the results don't immediately follow. They're building for the future, investing in youth, trying to create something sustainable, but the fans just want to see their team win matches. Here's what nobody's talking about yet, though. Rob Mack explained their thinking behind these investments back in February when he spoke to The Athletic. He said they look for clubs with three things in common: a rich history, passionate fan bases, and limited resources compared to the top clubs in their leagues. He specifically mentioned Wrexham, Necaxa in Mexico, that's another club they've invested in, and La Equidad. All three fit that profile. Traditional clubs, punching below their weight, waiting for the right investment to unlock their potential. But here's my question. If the strategy is to preserve identity and tradition, which is what they've done brilliantly here, why completely rebrand the Colombian club? Is it because they know Colombian fans don't have the same emotional connection to the Welcome to Wrexham documentary? Is it because they think a fresh start sells better in South America? Or is it simply that different markets require different approaches?
Rob Mack also talked about creating fan bases that span the world. He mentioned walking down streets in Iowa or California and seeing people wearing Wrexham gear because of the documentary's reach and Reynolds' star power. That's the dream, right? Globalizing these clubs, building international support, turning local teams into worldwide brands. And look, I get it. From a business perspective, rebranding might make sense in Colombia. Fresh identity, new energy, maybe it attracts new fans and sponsors. But as a Wrexham supporter, you can't help but wonder, if things had gone differently, if the documentary hadn't been such a success, if the fan base hadn't been so vocally protective of our identity, would they have tried the same thing here? I don't think they would have, to be clear. I think Reynolds and Rob Mack genuinely understand what Wrexham means to this community. They've proven that time and time again with their actions, their investments, their respect for our history. But the fact that they've done it elsewhere shows it's in their playbook. It's an option they're willing to consider. What would you do if you're in their shoes? You've got multiple clubs across different continents. Do you apply the same philosophy everywhere, or do you adapt to each market? Is there a right answer? For me, the real test is results. They've kept their promise to us, and we've been rewarded with back-to-back promotions and now a solid campaign in the Championship. Meanwhile, International de Bogotá finished bottom of their league in year one. Maybe the rebrand was a mistake. Maybe alienated the existing fan base without attracting enough new support to compensate. Time will tell. But one thing's for sure, Wrexham fans are watching. We're watching how they handle their other clubs, how they balance business decisions with tradition, how they navigate the complexities of owning multiple teams. Because what happens in Colombia or Mexico might not directly affect us, but it tells us something about their philosophy, about what they value, about what they're willing to change when the circumstances are different. And that matters. Right, let's recap. No new injury concerns for Wrexham ahead of tonight's match with Hull, and Cabore's progressing well. We've drawn Nottingham Forest at home in the FA Cup, an absolute dream tie. And Reynolds and Rob Mack have completely rebranded their Colombian club, raising questions about identity and ownership philosophy. Here's what I think. They've earned our trust here in North Wales, and until they give us reason to doubt them, we should focus on what they've delivered for Wrexham. But it's a reminder that football's a business, and sometimes business decisions don't always align with tradition. This journey we're on, Hollywood owners, Championship football, a documentary that's reached millions, it's unprecedented. We're navigating uncharted waters, and stories like this remind us that not everything is straightforward. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are you worried, or do you trust Reynolds and Rob Mack completely? Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Reds!